I feel like my over preparation is my fear. I'm just afraid of being vulnerable. I'm just gonna try my best. Hi everybody, welcome to the Secret Sex Lives of Muslim Women. This is our second episode this year. Happy early Ramadan to everybody who is observing. My intention is to cut out weed for all of Ramadan for the whole month and see what happens. Mayhaps I will be less emotional, or maybe I'll be more emotional. I don't know. We're going to find out. So today's episode is a very different rhythm than all the other episodes. It's way less sexual, a lot more emotional. If you guys have been following me for a while, the videos that I first put out on Instagram, which did gain me some traction, were actually Therapy Thursday videos where I had started going to therapy a few years ago, 8 years ago at this point, and I was learning so much about myself and so much about my behavior that I didn't realize I was exhibiting or partaking in. And then I would take those insights to Instagram via the form of 15-minute long videos, and I would share what I learned, and every video had like a specific topic, and I would give an example to contextualize it to my life so that hopefully people could better understand the lesson. So I'm gonna tap into more of her today because I do feel like a huge part of my life is my healing journey. I've been on a really intense healing journey these past few years, but also my life has been insane and nonstop and very up in the air. I've been in survival mode for so long that I haven't really had time to emotionally process. I haven't had the luxury and the privilege of really psychoanalyzing a lot of my patterns or behaviors the way I used to. And I also don't have the means that I used to have. Like, oh my God, I spent probably like $30,000 or more on therapy when I was working as an engineer, when I was just beginning my healing journey. But now I don't got that kind of money to spend on therapy. So that also has kind of delayed my processing. But now I feel like I'm in a stable spot. I moved 19 times last year, guys. And I finally moved to a spot now where I feel stable. I really like where I live. I like the people I live with. It's giving me like this sense of safety and stability that I didn't feel like I had before. And I kind of feel like I woke up in a lot of ways. So the first video that I want to make, looking back at everything that happened, is about the two heartbreaks that I went through. One of them being romantic and one of them being a friendship. First of all, I've experienced an enormous tsunami amount of fallouts and loss over the past few years, starting with obviously my family. After I took the hijab off, after I stepped back from religion, and after I moved to New York City, that's when I really lost my family. And of course, after I started publicly speaking about sex, right? I would never have been able to start this podcast while I was still in Canada or while I was still in contact with my family. So all of the choices that I have made and continue to make every single day have led to the loss and the sustained continued loss of my family, which is not an easy loss. Like, I try to explain to people the grief that I'm sitting on. It's like I'm grieving a solar system worth of souls. Do you know what I mean? It's very, very heavy. And on top of that, I'm also living life at an insanely rapid pace, perpetuating the same dysfunctional patterns that I'm bringing with me from my old life onto all these new dynamics and onto all these new people, and I'm breaking my own heart. And that's what this episode is about. This episode is about how I broke my heart and how I lost two sweethearts without meaning to. It took me like a long time to get here because I went through both of these breakups exactly 2 years ago now, and it happened at the same time, both of the breakups. Both of them were my doing. Honestly, if we're being really fucking for real, it was my doing. I'm the one who initiated it. I'm the one who was avoidant. But I didn't know that for so long. I really thought that I was just an anxious girly. I would blame it on men. Oh my God, it's so easy to blame it on men. Please. Have you seen men? They're so blamable. And I just have been taught that my whole life. But then recently someone told me, they're like, do you think that you could possibly be avoidant? And I was like, no. You know why? Because I'm not avoidant when there's a rupture or when there's a conflict. I feel like that's when I come alive. Because hello, grew up in a toxic abusive household. Like, that is how you communicate, through the dysfunction. The dysfunction occurs and then you resolve, right? But what I learned was that I was burning things down and then being like, okay, let's work through it. But people who don't know you, they're just like, what the fuck? But you burned it down. Like, why would I try and fix that? And so I realized that my avoidance actually shows up when things are going well. When something is very sweet and I actually, like, my guard is starting to come down, then that's when I start to avoid it. And I'll tell you exactly how I do that when I get into the stories. Okay, so obviously I'm changing their names because I want to protect their identity and their anonymity. But yeah, I have had over 30 friendship fallouts in the past 4 years. So everything that I'm going to say is like from the past 4 years till now. But my life really fell apart in February 2024. That's when I went through both of these breakups as well. And I went through a bunch of career failures at that, or failures, I don't know if I would say failures, but like a bunch of doors closed all at once. And that's also when my financial situation really crashed. And that is how long I've been in survival mode. That was when I left to LA, and then I went to Egypt for 3 months, and then I came back here and I moved 19 times. Okay, so that's like the sparked notes of those fallouts that I went through, because I was legit manic when I left my family and my parents. Only 2 of them really fucking mattered. Only 2 of them really like hurt me. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm really sad about so many other friendships falling out, but I felt like maybe those dynamics weren't working for me anyways, or I felt like maybe my values were different than those people. But I really loved these 2 people. So I'm going to tell you guys about the romantic one first. His name is Joaquin, okay? And I talk about this guy a lot online and in my stand-up, but it's very like dramatic. It's very, very like performative. This is the only man in America who has fucked me, by the way. Who has truly fucked me. He's very young. If you want to watch like the Gossip Girl drama version of this, you can watch my comedy set from the show Ask a Fuckboy that I did a month ago in Manhattan. It's on my personal YouTube channel. It's called The 21-Year-Old Who Broke My Heart. And in between brackets, it says I'm 32. That has all the drama. Okay, you can go watch that if you want. It's like 10 minutes long. But what I'm going to talk about today is when it was good and how I freaked out basically and kind of ended it. So basically this guy, he was so young, which was already like kind of like a red flag for me. And I met him at a time where, you guys don't get it. Like, when I left Toronto, I came into like so much money all at once when I moved to New York City, and I had all this freedom all of a sudden, and I wasn't living with my family. I was a manic fucking bitch, okay? I couldn't stay put more than 2 weeks in New York City. I was leaving every 5 minutes. I was going to Egypt. I went to Egypt 6 times in 1 year, okay? I was on a mission to lose my virginity. I was just like, I need to start living life. Like, and I was like, I can't even, my whole life, like, it was so depressing when I was leaving Canada, when I was leaving Toronto. It was literally the darkest time of my life. Like, I just felt like there was no more light in that city, in that world, in that country. Like, I just couldn't do it anymore. I remember my parents came when they found out that I would quit my engineering job and that I was moving to New York. They really were like, oh shit, like, we're gonna lose her for real. So they came to my apartment. They stopped by unannounced, and it was fucking crazy and terrifying. Like, I had to hide my alcohol bottles, my sex paintings. Like, it was very invasive, if I'm being honest with you. That was also part of why I left, because I was like, my parents can just show up at my fucking apartment. That's insane. My parents can't do that here. They don't know where I live. You know what I mean? So anyways, they did that. And it was so depressing. Like, they were basically begging me not to go. They were begging me not to leave. My apartment in Toronto also didn't have light. So it was legitimately just dark, like metaphorically and literally. And my mom was like, don't go. Like, my mom was just kind of guilting me. That's the only way she knows how to communicate. And then I started crying, and she's like, why are you crying? And I was like, because I feel like my parents are dead. And then she thought about it for a second, and she's like, no, Salma, don't cry as if your parents are dead, because then you're going to live your life exactly like how you want to. I was like, Mom, that's literally the point. Like, why do you think I'm doing this? It was just so dark. I also was like in love with this guy for a year and a half in Toronto, and I attempted to lose my virginity with him, but he couldn't get fully hard. He's fully gay, obviously. He's gay. But like, me, when a guy can't get hard, you're gay. Or you have issues. But yeah, he's definitely gay. Like 12 people text me when he went to LA. They're like, Salma, he's at a Dua Lipa concert alone. This man is gay. Do you know what I mean? Anyways, tried to lose my virginity with a gay man. I really don't recommend that, because then you start to internalize like his lack of desire toward you. You know what I mean? And then he was avoiding me after that. Okay. So it was like my family, then I took the hijab off, and I was trying to lose my virginity. And I knew that all the comics who knew me there would be judging me based off of like, oh, this is Salma who's never like touched a boy ever. Now she's talking about this. Now she's like, I wanted to go somewhere where no one knew me, and where my family and family friends wouldn't like catch me doing something somewhere on the street. Okay. So I moved here. But I was still very manic, and I had a lot of money. And so I was traveling like crazy. I went to Egypt. I met a guy there, and I did lose my virginity to him there. And then I came back. I kept chasing him. Then I found another guy to chase, and I just kept doing that. I was just like avoiding reality. Okay. That's really what I was doing. Then I made this friend. Okay. So the guy who broke my heart, his name is Joaquin. And the girl, her name is Didi. Okay. So I was friends with Didi while I was in my manic episodes, blah, blah, blah. And we actually got along really, really well. We had scary similar lives, even though we came from really different backgrounds. We just like really saw each other. Like, we had such intense emotional intelligence because of the trauma that we had gone through. And we really got it. And we seemingly had similar values. But then we also really, really triggered each other. Like, we brought out a lot of competition with each other, like comparison about who's hotter, who's more attractive to the male gaze, who's funnier and better at comedy. Both of them are comedians, by the way. We were working together on something, and we got along really great. Everything was going well, whatever. When we started working on this project, our connection started to accelerate. In my experience, it started to feel like she was part of my everyday life. Like, I would see her all the time. And I think that I didn't recognize at the time how much I value my independence and my freedom, and how much I like to be alone. Like, I just like to be alone a lot of the day. I have traditionally gotten into this pattern where I always have like a female best friend that I'm stuck to, that I'm so codependent on. And eventually those relationships escalate so much to the point where I'm talking to this person every day on the phone for like 2-3 hours, and then it interrupts my life. Do you understand? Like, it interrupts my life flow. It makes me resent them, because it ends up like them being way more needy or way more dependent on me. And then I do become a little bit avoidant. Dare I say, I do become avoidant. So what was happening with Didi was we started working together more and more. We were in each other's physical space almost every day, all day. And that was getting a little suffocating for me, because it was just moving at a really fast pace, and it was scary. And there was one day where we went out to a restaurant, and we were like looking deeply into each other's eyes. And it was just like so nice and kind and sweet. And I remember thinking to myself, is this love? And I was mortified. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was genuinely mortified. And so I don't know what happened, but I suddenly received an offer to leave town for a day, and I took it. I jumped on it. Okay. And then she got really upset. She's like, why would you do this? Like, we're in the middle of a big project. Like, I don't get it. And I was like, oh, well, this is a really great opportunity for me. And also, like, I was justifying it via like many personal reasons, but I wasn't understanding, like, I wasn't admitting to her or to myself in any way that this is moving a little fast for me and I just want to press the brakes and I need to do these spontaneous things every now and then to remind myself that I'm still in control of my life and I still have freedom, which I literally gave up my whole life and my whole family for. And I think the way that she received it, because she has a lot of traumas and triggers that are very similar to my own, I think the way that she received it was that I was leaving forever, even though it was just for a day. But the way I was experiencing it was that I'm just going to go get some air and I'm coming back. Like, I'm not leaving you forever. But unfortunately, that is not how it landed on her. And I was too arrogant at the time to just apologize. I was like telling everybody about it and getting everyone's opinion to objectively tell her you're overreacting, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, she was reacting as if I had cheated on her, but it doesn't matter. Like, that's just information about how much of a betrayal this decision was. And it took me like so long to actually unpack this in therapy, but my therapist was basically telling me, like, if you made this decision without her spontaneously, how does she know that you're never going to do it again? Right? Like, just up and leave her whenever things get a little too intimate, you know? So yeah, at the time during our friendship, there was never anything sexual that ever happened, but our friendship was very, very intimate. Like, I also was not okay at that time. Like, I really need to tell you guys, my nervous system was fucking going crazy. Okay. Like, I'll get into boys in a minute when I talk about Joaquin, but like with Didi, I remember we took mushrooms together one time and I started crying about my oldest nephew. Like, I really missed him. And then I told her, like, I need you to climb on top of me and hug me, like squish me with your whole entire body, including my neck. And she did that. She lied fully on top of my body. And I was like crying and she was laughing and it was like reverberating on my belly. Like, dude, we didn't have sex, but that is intimate. That is so intimate. Like, she literally physically regulated my body, you know? And yeah, sure, many people do that via hugs, but Didi hugs were on another level, dude. Like, I remember there was one time where her mom called her and she was super anxious. And then I was just anxious for some fucking reason. And I was like, do you want a hug? And she was like, yeah. And we both gave each other just like the tightest hug and took deep breaths in and out. Like, she was also super somatic. She was really in touch with her body. And we were very like spiritually aligned in those ways. Like, I didn't have to explain to her the chemical alchemy that was going on with us physically when we would hug, because she just knew, she just felt it, you know? The loss of Didi has been enormous, by the way, for me. Like, I think when it ended, well, let me just like finish the story. But I think when it ended, like, I didn't think it was going to be permanent. And I recently saw her for the first time last month, for the first time in 2 years, and she didn't say a word to me, and it was very painful because I always imagined that we would get back together at some point, that we would reconnect, but I also do know that our lives are best lived apart at this point. So let me tell you guys the rest of the story. So basically, after I made that decision, that spontaneous decision to leave town for a day, she never got over it. I never apologized, so it makes sense. And that kind of just followed us throughout the end of our friendship. But before me and Didi ended our friendship, I met Joaquin. And Joaquin was this guy that, he's a comic and he's very young, and he pursued me very directly. And that was rare for me. And initially I was like, oh my God, you're so young. But I really did like something about him. Like, I felt like he was super earnest and he was very sweet and endearing. By the way, both of them are so sweet. Like, the people that I like, or that I love rather, are very sensitive, very sweetie, You know, they also are avoidant themselves. Like, they're not perfect, obviously, but like, yeah. So I met Joaquin, and I remember he slid into my DMs, and he was continuing to pursue me for like the first couple of weeks or month maybe that we met. And I remember telling Didi about it, and she was like, well, maybe Joaquin is going to be good for you, because instead of you chasing these guys in Egypt and you're avoiding your reality here in America, why don't you actually get involved with someone here in New York City? Like, it might make you live in reality. And honestly, she was right, because that's exactly what happened when I started seeing Joaquin. But when I started actually seeing Joaquin, I was already like obsessed with this other guy in Egypt called Z, and he turned out to be a cheating liar. I also did an Ask a Fuckboy about him. But anyway, and I did a rap song about him called Fuckboy. Or Playgirl, that's what the diss track is called. But anyways, so when I met Joaquin, I was still avoiding reality, because in my head I was like, oh, I'm gonna marry the Egypt dude, and I'm just gonna like use this guy for sex. And someone recently told me, they were like, you were being kind of fuckboy yourself. And I was like, oh yeah, definitely. Like, I did not take Joaquin seriously. Okay, so now we can talk about my avoidance, because I said that my avoidance doesn't come up when there's rupture or when there's conflicts, right? My avoidance comes up when there's something sweet. So in the moment where me and Didi were at the restaurant, and I looked into her eyes and I said, is this love? Immediately the voices in my head were like, bitch, what the fuck, with a girl? Are you out of your fucking mind with a white girl? Like, there's no way. I was like, no, I haven't even like tasted enough dick. Like, I haven't even done this. I haven't even done that. Like, I'm still new to this whole game. Like, what are you talking about? And then my mind starts being like, oh, she's really nerdy, or she's really this and that, or like, come on, like objectively bullying them. Objectively, I start to judge them. I start to like, and by objectively bullying them, I mean some other voice in my head starts bullying them the way that voice would bully me, or would bully like anyone on the street or whatever. Like, I almost make them turn into a stranger, and then I put distance, right? It's an armor. It's a protective armor. Yeah, I did that with Didi. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? No way. Like, I did do that. And then with Joaquin, I did that a lot. Like, I was like, this guy is a kid. Even when I was fucking him, even when I was having the best fucking intimate experiences of my life with him, I was like, this kid, he can barely read. This guy who like doodles, this guy. And by the way, I love all those things about him. Like, I love that he's so delusionally charming. I love that he just doodles and fucking journals and does all these things for himself. He's also kind of selfish, and you know what, I was envious of that, because he was 21 years old, but he had something that I did not have at the time. He had the permission to live his life. He gave himself that permission. I had not given myself that permission. I was still waiting for it from my dad. I was still waiting for it from my family. I was still waiting for it from, like, I don't know, all these unavailable men who, the guy in Egypt, like random ass people that I would ascribe all this fucking importance to. So what happened with Joaquin was I was avoiding by telling myself he's really young, like, don't burden him with your issues. And it helped a little bit my avoidance, because it actually did help me keep him a little bit longer in some ways, because I didn't fully burden him or trauma dump on him with all my shit, because I was like, Salma, he's really fucking young, like, he's not gonna save you, so don't have that expectation. So it did kind of help me a little bit. But what was really happening was I was really falling for him, and I was really, really getting attached. And obviously, like, if I have bad sex with someone, guys, it doesn't make a fucking difference for me. I'm not going to remember your name. Matter of fact, it doesn't even go towards my body count. But if I have good sex with someone, it's like, oh shit. Okay, now I love you though. What do we do about that? Especially because my nervous system was like crazy primed for attachment. Like, I had just suffered the biggest fucking rupture of my life, my family, and I was avoiding reality as best as I could, as best as money could possibly afford me. And then I meet this guy, and it was so pure, it was so divine. Like, I knew that he had like a gold ribbon on him in terms of how smooth everything was to fall into with him, how much power I felt like I had in myself, in my body when I was with him. I felt very desired and pursued. And it just felt so right. And then I started freaking out. I started getting attached. I started really liking him. I think we introduced sex way too early in the equation. But in my head, I was like, I don't want anything from him but sex. So obviously, like, let's get that started right away. But what happened was I freaked out way more because I was like, I don't know this guy. So he could up and leave tomorrow. Like, I didn't know how avoidant he was. And you know, he is very avoidant. So, but the thing is, I made my fear come true. Like, me being so afraid that he would just up and leave or up and ghost me one day kind of really made me push that to happen. So the way my avoidance showed up was that I would pick a lot of fights with him. I would feel all the time, like, genuinely, him and I would go out and a lot of guys would come talk to me and I would feel like, oh my God, like, I'm so desirable. Like, why the hell am I with this guy when I could, like, have my pick of the litter? But that's all false. That's all my fears talking, right? I didn't know it at the time because at the time I don't know, I hadn't, like, talked to enough people. I hadn't stayed put in America long enough to see that there are a lot of factors that matter in me feeling connected to someone. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily their age. It's not necessarily like the amount of intelligence or new ideas that they have to offer a conversation. Sometimes it's just that they make your body feel really safe and that they really do desire and admire you, and that they treat you well physically and emotionally as best as they can, right? So anyways, my avoidance came up a lot by me just being like, this guy, like, no way, whatever. Would pick a lot of fights with him, would talk to him very disrespectfully. I was feeling very entitled and very controlling. And we also had completely opposite schedules at the time. And to be fair with you, at the time, like, I didn't know that my nervous system was absolutely batshit crazy. I just really thought that I had needs that were normal and that I felt very entitled to him filling them, you know? And he actually did what any healthy person would do. And he tried a lot to appease me in the beginning, and that made me feel powerful. And that made me actually feel like my tactic was working, like to pick these fights and whatever. But he only really was down to repair the ruptures like a couple of times. And then eventually he was just like, this is toxic. This is draining me. Like, I think we should take space. I was also leaving to LA. So that was another thing. I set us up for failure because I knew that I was leaving. And so in my head, I was like, let's just go batshit crazy, like drive off a cliff with this relationship till I leave. Then I'm never going to see you again. And that's like a crazy thing to ask of someone to do. Certainly someone sensitive and someone who was looking for something more long term. So I ended up pushing him away and he did break up with me, and I was shocked. After I literally held a gun up to his head and was like, do it. I was shocked that he broke up with me. I couldn't even fucking handle it. I ran back to my dad. I went back to my dad in Toronto. Like, I went back to the source of all my pain because I could not handle the fact that I lost him. And then within literally 2 weeks after that, I go to LA and Didi basically like tells me we were supposed to like start another project together, and she tells me that she can't do it. Like, she set a boundary with me. And that pissed me off so fucking much that I said, I don't want to be friends anymore. I just can't do this. And I think it was because I was already in a lot of pain about the Joaquin breakup that I was just like, what's one more? You know what I mean? What's one more fucking branch to add to this fire? Like, that's really how I felt about it. And you know what? I was angry at them for so long after. Like, I was so angry at them because I was like, why the fuck couldn't you be exactly what I wanted you to be? Why couldn't you tell me the exact words that I needed to hear? Why couldn't you be more available for me? Why couldn't you show up exactly in the controlled script that I had written for you? And when in reality, it was like, I was scared and I couldn't stay. You know, I was sad that I couldn't stay. That was truly what it was, because anger is just a mask for grief, right? Okay, so I feel like now is probably a really good time to read you guys a very, very vulnerable letter that I wrote to my therapist last week because she's ending her practice. This is my therapist of 2 years. I had one for 6 years. Then I had this therapist for 2 years. And we didn't get to work together that much because of my financial restrictions. But we did kind of cover a lot of ground in the past couple of months. And so she asked me to write her a letter to kind of like summarize everything that I learned in therapy. So I'm going to read that letter. Dear, my therapist's name, you asked me to write what I learned in therapy about myself and life and what I want to carry forward in my life. I learned that I've been through so much grief and abuse, and I'm still trying to sift through it all. I learned that I have some avoidance and deep fear of intimacy that I never realized I had before. I learned that I self-sabotage when someone gets too close. I learned that I pretend to be the sweetest, kindest friend ever with no boundaries or limitations until I explode because I can't handle it anymore. I learned that I burn a lot of bridges, probably because I was taught to deal with conflict like that from my dad, who also cut me off, by the way, when he was faced with our conflict. I learned I have a lot of love and grief for my sister, my brother, my nieces and nephews, and Didi that I need to honor. I learned that I primarily relate to people through trauma dumping, which is a false sense of intimacy. I learned that I rely almost entirely on external factors to feel good about myself, and that I perform by narrating who I am or what I'm doing or what I want people to notice about me by over-explaining and over-talking and sharing. I fear this does not yield the result I desire. I fear I merely provide a roadmap to others about how unwell I'm doing. I learned it creates the opposite desired outcome. I learned that I still fear setting boundaries, which I have a lot of, calmly and healthily. I learned that I tend to wait till the last second and then completely explode on the person or situation. I learned that what my father and family did to me was objectively awful, but that it doesn't have to become the only story that defines me. I learned that if I keep identifying with the story, it will become cemented in me when the goal is to move on. I learned I have many, many ghosts from my past that haunt me. I've decided to proactively create a grief container so that I may honor my grief without letting it hijack my desire. I learned that I am much more avoidant than I initially realized, and that is because I am deathly afraid of true, pure intimacy. And I also cannot live with the guilt of walking away from someone, so I attack and push them to do it instead. I would prefer to be a screaming, wounded, crying victim rather than the adult holding the gun. I learned that my online persona is very much a persona, an alter ego, so to speak, that is very much giving people such a specific idea about me. I learned that I cannot draw in people who will know me authentically for me via that medium and that performance. I learned it is once again a cover to control my image in the public eye, but it might not be landing like how I want it to. I have realized that I'm in a fork in the road right now between my old life and new one. I could fixate on the horrors of the past, or I could stop waiting for my family's permission or my father's approval to finally experience joy. I have to bless myself and fully accept that whatever money I'm going to make is blessed. It's not dirty just because it doesn't follow my dad's version of God-friendly. I am divine, and so is my mission and my passion. I do not need to get my roses from them or anyone to follow my heart. I just need to give myself the permission. I need to open my gates and stop being afraid of my own potential and power. I recognize that my avoidance does not appear in moments of rupture. Rather, it shows up when something sweet is happening to me. That's when it's most likely to show up, convincing me that this is not serious or that this is not it, that I am somehow better and bigger than this and I should not indulge. I recognize later, post Didi and Joaquin heartbreak, that all I ever wanted was to give it a shot, to give it room to breathe without preemptively ending it and breaking my own heart and the hearts of those whom I love. I recognize that love is unfamiliar to me, and so is a lot of the vulnerable, naked human experience. My nervous system fears uncertainty and cannot bear shame, and therefore discharges it on others in creative ways. I recognize that no real intimacy can occur without surrender and not needing to control others. I accept that I am terrified of healthy love, even though I really want it. I am taken back to the version of me on ayahuasca where I imagined what it would be like if I had my first ever healthy boyfriend. Immediately, I got up and put my face in the puke bucket and said out loud, "I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared," 23 times. That's how scary it is for me to let someone into my heart. And yet, I want to try. So that's my letter to my therapist. She also wrote me a very sweet letter. So this is her letter to me. Dear Salma, As we come to the close of our work together, I want to pause to honor the depth, courage, and commitment you have brought to this therapy journey. Over the course of 2 years in therapy with me, you have continued to invest in your personal growth amidst moves, job loss, couch surfing, and stress in your relationships. This says a lot about what you value and hope for in life, and I really appreciate that in you. You have given tender and honest attention to the profound losses you've experienced, the grief surrounding your family, the ruptures in important relationships, and the deep sadness connected to your relationship with Joaquin. None of this has been easy to face, yet you have allowed yourself to feel, to name, and to stay present with what hurts. One of the meaningful intentions you've spoken about is creating an inner container, a compassionate, steady place within yourself to hold your losses with care, not to erase them, but to honor them as part of your story, held with dignity rather than overwhelm. I feel this will be both validating and freeing, and a way to revisit these experiences with newfound insight and clarity. Please know that the grief you carry speaks to your capacity to love deeply. As you continue forward, my hope is that the container you are building within yourself will allow both love and loss to coexist, held with gentleness, compassion, and self-respect. In our sessions, you have allowed the vulnerable part of yourself to show up, the part that yearns for connection, wants to be seen, to belong, to be accepted with all of your human imperfections. You have also held the part of you that judges, distances, tries to control outcomes, and protect this vulnerable part. This is important work, Salma, and you are doing it. When we can hold different aspects of ourselves, we grow, we heal, we evolve, and then we are able to see and honor these different aspects in others as well. Today, we spoke of what you want in a friendship. You shared you don't want chaos and drama, and you acknowledged that a part of you has brought drama to your friendships to make things more interesting. As well, that you have felt that trauma dumping when you first meet someone gives them information upfront about you so you don't have to re-explain it. You shared you didn't know how you would have gotten to know a new friend by being more muted. I see this as a potential area to nurture how to share yourself without feeling pressure to overshare or rely on this old narrative. Consider how far you've come and how far you want to go, and bring this resilience into the light. A while back, you shared a vision of what you hoped to find in a best friend and a male partner. I believe the more you access and nurture your true self, the part that is at peace, that can be fun and silly, that can be grounded and patient, the more this energy will exude from you, and the right people will manifest in your life. This is brave and beautiful work, Salma. Keep moving forward. It has been a privilege to witness your process and to walk alongside you in this chapter. So that's my therapist letter to me. Yeah, I do feel like these two relationships really woke me up because, like I said, they were people that I actually cared about. They're people that I actually loved. And so losing them really, like, that pain didn't go away, you know? And the pain wasn't just about losing them permanently. It was about the fact that I ended it, that I didn't let these two relationships run their course on their own. I preemptively ended it because I was afraid. And you know what's so funny? Like, after I lost both of them, I swear to God, I would like try to communicate with them. Like, you guys see how social media comes up a lot in the letters. It's because I definitely have a persona online. Like, guys, I could not be more different in real life than I am online. Like, I lived with my cousin for 3 months in Egypt, by the water in Dahab. And I remember, like, people in our family would ask her, like, what's Salma up to? What's Salma up to? People be thinking I'm fucking every night. People be thinking that I am literally living the wildest life. Someone told me it looks like you get pussy all night. I'm like, do you guys even know anything? I've been celibate for 2 years. After I lost Joaquin, I went celibate. Like, so because I had amazing sex with him and then we immediately cut off after, that triggered a massive abandonment wound in me. Then a few months later, I got assaulted in a sex club in Berlin, and that really sealed the deal for me. I did ayahuasca a few months after that, and I realized that I cannot have sex for the foreseeable future. And now it's been 2 years and 1 month since I've had sex. But I'm ready to break my celibacy now. I just need to make sure that whoever I do have sex with next like understands the weight that it has for me, and I need to have already built, I think, like a stable enough foundation, like just a little bit of time. Honestly, like I fucked Joaquin right away within like a month of knowing him. I had a therapist tell me like you should wait at least 3 months. A healer of mine, she said, your nervous system, like my nervous system, here's the thing, guys, like I didn't even know that I was being avoidant. I didn't even know that I was sabotaging those relationships because my nervous system was just not okay. Like I needed a lot of physical soothing. When Joaquin and I had sex, like I remember when we went to sleep after, I was literally spooning him. I was big spooning him, and his elbow was on my left breast, and so he could feel my heart rate, and he literally told me, your heart rate is double mine. He said, for every time my heart beats, yours beats 1.5. And I was like, yeah, because I'm fucking anxious. Like I can't even be in my body. My nervous system is fucking like wacko psycho, and it was just constantly like that. And to let someone into my body in that way and to feel safe with him also awakened like a lot more of a nervous system panic, because I was like, I don't know this guy. What if he leaves? I want to talk about a new guy. He's not really anything. There is someone in my life right now. We're not dating at all. It's not sexual, but we are in close proximity to each other a lot. There's also a lot of honesty and vulnerability between us, and there's a lot of genuine intimacy in the way that we're getting to know each other. There is some tension, at least on my end, and every day I have 2 choices with him. It's like either I run when I get scared, I pick a fight with him, I throw all my nervous system dysfunction and fears, my anxiety, because I'm both anxious and avoidant, by the way. It's like throwing both of those on him, or it's that I stay and I learn. It's that I don't run away. It's that I actually go deal with my shit and come back to him and just deal with it. Like ultimately what's happening with this guy is that I'm experiencing desire for the first time without control. And it is very scary. It's also very boring and underwhelming. And there's like an impulsive voice in me that's like, do something right now, escalate it, make it blow up, or make it accelerate, like intervene in some way. And that is the same impulse, that is the same noise that made me push Joaquin away and made me leave Didi. So that's why I'm really trying to like manage that voice, and I'm really trying to like stay in my higher self and engage with this person like an adult, because he's also very fucking sensitive, and he's also very aware of my avoidance and my chaotic past. And so I'm also trying to be careful for the first time, be responsible for my own actions, because they can impact another person's feelings. Clearly, like one of the worst things about these 2 breakups was knowing that I broke their hearts. Like they were literally both begging me not to leave them at some point, and it's just like so terrible knowing that they're not going to take me back either, you know? That's another thing. Like I think I really wanted to do this episode so that I could forgive myself, because I feel like that's the last piece that's missing in me moving on and in me releasing them, is I really need to forgive myself. I really need to accept that my nervous system was not okay back then. And you know what? Even if I knew that my nervous system was not equipped enough to handle a fling with this guy Joaquin, I would have still done it, because I was so hungry for sex back then. I was so hungry for sexual experiences, and then going through celibacy for 2 years took away the thing that I wanted the most. And so it made me have to think logically. It made me have to like actually look at my patterns and be like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? You know, I'm an engineer. We need to keep the factors constant so we can see what the fuck is contributing to the nervous system spikes. Okay. So yeah, my point being, I'm not going to reach out to them. I'm not going to reach out and apologize. I'm not going to tell them what I wished I could have said back then, because I actually don't think that that is helpful. I feel like I love them enough not to interrupt their lives. I don't think that this is avoidance at all, by the way. I had a therapist tell me once, when my ex, like my halal Muslim ex, kept reaching out to me, she was like, ignore him, or like, don't give in. And I was like, but what if he changed? She said, if this motherfucker changed, he would have seen how much damage he caused you and he would fucking leave you alone. Like, he would be like, you know what? Let me step back for once. And that is exactly how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I've reached out to them a bunch before, especially Joaquin, and all it does is like, it's just like me bringing my anxiety and my panic, me asking them to soothe me again. And it's an unfair request. It's an unfair demand. And so anyways, yeah, I'm trying to be a little bit more responsible for my own emotions, for the role that I play in their lives. And I'm also practicing, instead of exploding, regulating. I'm practicing staying. I'm practicing letting things unfold, letting things be uncomfortable. I'm practicing working through my triggers when I get jealous. Oh my God. I can claw someone's eyes out from how jealous I can get. Like, I don't ever act on my jealousy, but it feels like my fucking nervous system is exploding. Like, it feels like there's fireworks going on inside of my body. And then also sex is, if it's good, like I said, can really imprint my body and make me zero in on someone, make me get like super attached to them. So I'm trying to keep my wits about me. I'm trying to go at least like 3 months getting to know someone without running away, without freaking the fuck out, because it's like my anxiety, which, by the way, my anxiety is also an avoidance tactic in a way, because it's like, my anxiety, I chase these unavailable people because that guarantees me that nothing is going to happen in real life, right? But if something actually happens in real life and someone's available to me, I start freaking out. I start being avoidant. I start being like, whoa, give me my space. Whoa, like, okay, I actually like being alone. Whoa, this is not sustainable. Whoa, like, you're so needy. Like, I resent you for how much time you're taking out of me and how much energy you're taking. Like, do you know what I mean? So now I'm trying to practice with myself. I'm like, girl, you don't even want, every time I'm trying to chase this guy, I'm like, girl, imagine he was chasing you. You would be disgusted right now. You would be revolted. Is that a word? Revolted? Yeah. I would be just so mad. I would actually be like, what the fuck? You're a child. You can't entertain yourself like for 5 minutes. Why do you have to keep bothering me? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think seeing this guy, like the one that I'm like in, this new guy that I'm like in close proximity to every day, it's actually the best case scenario, because I am in reality constantly with him, which is like the best way to avoid me fantasizing or doing limerence, which I have an intense history of. Instead, it's just like, okay, I have the reality to keep me in the present. Like, I am living in my present, which I love. Like, oh my God, after I went through those 2 heartbreaks, guys, like the whole time I was in LA, I was literally not living in reality. I was living online. I was like, I had a disgusting, poisonous relationship to social media. I was literally still like dealing with the fact that I left New York. I was coming down off that, but I was not engaging in my reality at all. So I really wanted to come back to New York to start living my life, which, alhamdulillah, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be doing what I love. I'm so happy to be doing this podcast. Honestly, now that I'm like living, I also wanted to be in a reality, in like a real life that was so engaging. Like, I wanted to work in a place that was engaging. I wanted to live in a place that was also engaging. Like, I wanted to be in my present reality a lot more. And so I feel like I am getting that in my full day range, and in all the different jobs that I have in the place that I live. That is helping my nervous system calm down, and it's helping me actually notice my avoidance and my anxiety and manage them. But then now I'm entering into uncharted territory where I'm like just seeing what happens. Excuse me? Do you know who I am? I've never done that in my life. I've never done that in my fucking life, okay? I need to control something. I need a guaranteed answer immediately, or I'm gonna explode it. Those were my 2 buttons before. But now I'm just kind of like, well, where am I going? It's not like I'm in a hurry to get anywhere. Like, I'm not, khalas, like, I'm not going back to my family. I'm at this fork in the road where I'm the first person in my entire bloodline not to get married in her 20s and structure my entire life around that. I'm chasing my dreams. I've made this choice. I make this choice every day. Yeah, this is my life. I need to give myself permission to live it, and then And then if love shows up, like, number one, now I can recognize it. That is something that I did come out of these 2 heartbreaks learning, is I used to feel like 3 feelings before, but I didn't really know what they were. They would just like overwhelm me, all of them, and I would follow the one that felt the best. So one feeling was that I would like a guy that was unavailable and I would chase him and get a thrill off the breadcrumbs. This was definitely the one that was the loudest and the most engaging. The other feeling was like when someone liked me that I wasn't really attracted to, and that was just kind of like, ugh, meh, gross, made me feel bad, made me actually feel suffocated because of all the times my dad would try and shove suitors down my throat that I didn't like. And then the third feeling was where I kind of like someone who kind of liked me too, and I would scoff at it and be like, it's dumb, ugh, so there's probably something better. And I would go back to the first one, which is unavailable guy chasing for breadcrumbs, right? And that's because I was avoidant as fuck. But now I know that this third feeling is the pure, divine, true intimacy one. And that is the one that I should actually not chase, but allow into my life, make space for, give it time to unfold. So I don't know what's going to happen with this new guy. We might never do anything. We might just have sex and that's it. We might never even do that. But I'm gonna stick around and see. That's what I'm promising. That is what I'm saying. So anyways, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. I really wanted to do it because I know that the girlies who come from the same background as me, we were not really taught how to date. We were not really taught how to conflict resolve in healthy ways. We do lack a lot of healthy relational skills. And of course, I speak for myself first and foremost, but I have had many therapists tell me that it's amazing that I'm noticing these patterns now, because they have many clients, women in their 40s and 50s, who continue perpetuating these patterns forever without realizing or seeing. It's so much easier, right, to say, oh, I have bad luck in love. It's the same situation. Guys always cheat on me. Guys always this and that. But you are partaking in creating those dynamics in a way. So yeah, I just pray that this maybe inspires you to reflect on your own behaviors and your own responsibility in co-creating your reality if you want to improve it in some way. And I'm obviously imperfect. I'm obviously figuring it out. I'm reading you letters that me and my therapist wrote to each other like 2 weeks ago. So this is all still very, very raw, but it felt really important for me to share. So, and this is also kind of like a love letter to them without directly addressing them. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. As always, please like and subscribe and follow us and rate the podcast. Okay, we are trying to get sponsors, and we will have some really exciting episodes and some really exciting news coming up for you guys soon. So yeah, tune in next episode. I have been your host, Salma Hindi. This episode is recorded in Manhattan, New York. We will see you next episode.